Hello, everybody. Stefan Apostolov here, founder of Zonia and the host of the CEO of Aging Masterclass with Dr. Ron Rosedale. Today, we're going to have an amazing Q&A with the one and only Dr. Ron Rosedale. Because let me tell you guys, thousands, hundreds of thousands of people have seen the masterclass so far. And the feedback we got from so many people who've seen it was really touching. People have learned so much new information. They've started applying many of the tips that Dr. Ron shared with them in the masterclass, and they've already seen improvements in their health. So many of you guys had many questions after the masterclass, and we decided why not just bring Dr. Ron back and have him answer many of those top questions. So today we're having here on our Zoom call the one and only Dr. Ron Rosedale. Hi, Ron. How are you doing today?
I'm doing very well.
Well, thank you so much for being with us today. We really appreciate your time. It's such a pleasure to speak to you again. And just want to say that personally, working with you and creating the CEO of Aging Masterclass was very life-changing for me too, and eye-opening. I learned so much from you. You're a pioneer in this whole aging gracefully and longevity field, and it's such a pleasure and honor for me to know you. And again, this masterclass was very life-changing for so many people. So I'm excited to have this Q&A with you. So before I ask the first question to Dr. Ron, I want to just tell you guys, make sure you stick with us until the very end, because we have a special bonus for you guys if you stick with us until the end, and I'm going to be revealing at the end. So you make sure you stay with us. So Ron, let me start with a more general question that many people were asking. Can you tell us the difference now between life expectancy and lifespan? Because I know there are two different terms that sometimes people are using them for the same thing, but they're not actually the same thing. So what is the difference?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. I appreciate it. It's a pleasure being here. As far as life expectancy and lifespan, life expectancy is an average for a certain population of how many more years you're likely to live once you reach a certain age. It includes many factors, such as risk of death in childbirth, unsanitary conditions, for instance, childhood infections, a risk of getting run over by a semi-truck, war, starvation, various factors that we don't really consider as a true cause of aging, but would be included in an average life expectancy. So for instance, in the case of childhood infections, if a particular population has a bunch of deadly childhood infections, their life expectancy, once they reach the age of, let's say, 1, is not going to be very high. They might only have a life expectancy on average of a few years if there's really deadly childhood infections. Or if you make it beyond the first 5 years, for instance, then you might have a life expectancy of 90 years. If you make it beyond some of the other factors that we don't necessarily consider a part of aging. And you talk about the more intrinsic things that kill us, such as heart disease and cancer. Life expectancy steadily declines as we get chronologically older. Otherwise, we wouldn't be expected to die at all. However, once you reach middle age, life expectancy goes down at an ever-increasing pace. And that is what we typically refer to as aging. So like if you reach 30 years, you're 30 years old, you might have a life expectancy of 50 years. And if you reach 40, you might have a life expectancy of 40 years. It goes down by 10 years. But for every 10 years you get older, your life expectancy doesn't just shorten by 10 years, it'll shorten by more than that. So once you reach 90, your life expectancy is not going to be 100. Your life expectancy might be 92. So there's a steady increase in the amount of years that are decreased from our lifespan or our life expectancy as we get older. And that's what we call aging. And so when you talk about lifespan, you must also distinguish between average lifespan and maximal lifespan. And so average lifespan is how long individuals or species lives on average for their entire lifetime. That's an average lifespan. Maximum lifespan is the longest life an individual from a particular population or species has lived. So for humans, that's 122 years. It's the longest documented lifespan. And so our maximum lifespan, as far as we know, is 122 years. So it's a huge difference. And what we're trying to do is certainly increase our average lifespan, which would be nice. And you can do that by certain things. Antibiotics have probably increased our average lifespan and things like that by reducing deaths from certain infections. But we've not increased our maximal lifespan. And that's what we're trying to do. So when we're talking about, in the aging masterclass, we're talking about methods to not only increase the quality of life and your average lifespan, but potentially increasing maximal lifespan. I'm absolutely 100% convinced that if a huge number of people were to follow the program that we lay out and the science that we give in the masterclass, we will see an increase in maximal lifespan. There will be some individuals, some outliers, who will live beyond 122 years. And when you increase the maximal lifespan, what you're really doing is you're stretching out youth. So what we're talking about is stretching out youth. And when you do that, you basically slow down the rate of aging such that your lifespan, your maximal lifespan and average lifespan can increase.
That's so fascinating. And I personally didn't know about the difference between the average lifespan and maximum lifespan until you just told me now. And, who knows, perhaps you might be the first person to change the maximum lifespan because, again, you're only 70 years old, but but you look like amazing. You look like 50, like 45, right? And that's because of your lifestyle changes throughout your life. So, great job on that. So let me move on to the next question that we have from people. Do you think that through lifestyle and environmental changes, as well as correct diet, can affect people's lifespan and actually prolong their life beyond 100, or even, as you mentioned, 122, which is the age of the longest living individual on Earth, which was the age, whose name is Jean-Louise Coleman. I think she was from France. So what is in our control from that perspective, and what is simply evolutionary process?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And the short answer we've already given. The short answer is yes. There's certainly modalities that we can do to lengthen both our average and even better maximal lifespan, which would entail stretching out youth. One must recognize that a certain species lifespan is genetically determined. This is true. That's why humans, on average have an average lifespan of maybe 82 years and mice 2 years. So obviously you're not going to find a mouse that's going to live to be 82 years. So at least not anytime in the future. At least we hope not, because then there'd be a lot of mice out there. So we know that particular species have a range of lifespan that they're kind of chained to, and that's due to their genetics. But we have to also understand, and we talked about this in the masterclass, that genetics is really two major components. There's kind of a fixed genetics, such that our kidneys remain kidneys and our heart remains a heart, even though heart cells and kidney cells in a particular person have an identical genome. There's no difference in the genes between the two. But early on, they developed a particular genetic expression that became fixed. So that particular music was played of being a heart or being a kidney. And fortunately, that became imprinted, so that they don't just interchange, which would make for an interesting human. But we also know that there are lots of genes, perhaps a third of our entire genome, that can be changed by genetic expression. And what controls that genetic expression more than anything are certain metabolic pathways. We talked a lot about the target of rapamycin, Mtor. It controls a lot of our genetic expression. And that genetic expression controls a lot of things that can happen to our genome that will elicit an aging process that is slower. It can increase repair, most particularly, by increasing, for instance, autophagy, which is, we talked about in the master class, the way that basically garbage is removed, misformed proteins and things like that can get removed and recycled so they can be replaced with better functioning proteins. It's a requisite really of becoming healthier is you have to remove the junk first. It's like if you're going to rebuild a house, many times it's better just to get rid of the house and then rebuild. And that's really, really important. And we know that autophagy is largely controlled by the target of rapamycin, Mtor. And the target of rapamycin is controlled to a large part by what you eat. So what you eat ends up playing the largest role that we know of in regulating genetic expression, which can modulate to a significant extent the rate of aging. And so by changing, for instance, the diet of a mouse, you're not going to likely make it live to be 82 years, but rather than the previous maximal lifespan of maybe 2.5 years, they've now made mice live 6 years and things like that by changing their diet. We know that calorie restriction, for instance, was kind of the first modality that was noticed to extend lifespan. Now we know that it isn't really calorie restriction that's doing it, it's carbohydrate and most importantly protein restriction, because they're the most important, especially protein, in regulating the target of rapamycin. And if you regulate the target of rapamycin, you can, at least to a significant extent, help to determine the rate of aging.
Sounds good. So in other words, through lifestyle changes and specific environmental factors, and most importantly, diet, when I talk about lifestyle changes, people can definitely control and potentially increase their lifespan, which is great to know. We're going to talk more about those lifestyle changes and environmental factors later. If you have to pick one factor only that causes the most cell damage nowadays, what would that be? We kind of already know the answer, but I just want to ask you again, what would that one factor be? What should people be most worried about?
Well, if I had to answer in one word, it would be glucose, which you probably knew. Glucose causes more damage than most anything else as far as immediate damage by glycation and by increasing insulin and leptin and things like that. But when you add in another factor, which then talks about more longer term damage or residual damage, and then you have to add in the repair part of the equation. And if you add in the repair part of the equation, to repair damage, you need to keep Emptor low. And to keep Emptor low, you have to be much more aware of your protein. So by reducing protein, and like you mentioned, particularly certain amino acids such as leucine, and you keep the target of rapamycin lower, you increase autophagy, you increase repair, and then you have less accumulated damage. And that's what that's really the crux of the matter. So it isn't just how much damage we have, but our ability to repair that damage, which I would say is even more important. There are certain forms of damage that we cannot really regulate very much. People talk about antioxidants. So we know that oxidation and free radicals are a major form of damage. Yes, they are. But we can't tell you to not breathe because that's the major source of oxygen and the major source of oxidative damage. So you're always going to have oxidative damage. However, we can reduce the accumulated oxidative damage by repairing the damage as it occurs. And to do that, you've got to keep Mtor low. And to do that, protein becomes the more important macronutrient.
Sounds great. So in other words, glucose and Emptor hand by hand are like, I'd say together is like one of the most important factor that affects aging. Um,
And that then boils down to glucose or carbohydrate and protein. There's carbohydrate and protein that basically will regulate our rate of aging. And I mentioned previously, we found that it isn't just calorie restriction that allows for increased lifespan among very many species that they've found since 1930. It isn't just calorie restriction, particular kinds of calories, most particularly protein, also carbohydrate, which turns into glucose.
Mhm. Sounds good. Now moving on to the next question. Now let's go back to the CEO of Aging, our lifespan moderator, Mtor, that we just talked about. Why Mtor, a single protein enzyme, plays such a key role in the aging and disease formation process? Are there evolutionary reasons?
Yes, definitely. What Mtor, the targeted rapamycin, does is basically allocates energetic resources towards cellular replication or multiplication or maintenance and repair. And so there isn't a major need to constantly repair a cell if you're just going to make a new one. No, it's like the mindset of getting a new car. Do we really need a new car, or is it more financially feasible to repair the old one? And that's what life has had to decide on virtually since its inception. Do we allocate resources towards maintenance and repair, or should we allocate more resources towards replication, which takes a lot of energy? And Mtor is right in the middle of all of that. And so aging is also in the middle of all of that, because what we want is an increase in repair. And we want to actually tone down cellular replication, because when that is increased, as we're in our more adult years, you increase your risk of cancer. So you want to reduce your risk of cancer by allocating resources away from excessive cellular replication and more towards repair, which gives us a more youthful life. You're stretching out youth while you're reducing your age-related diseases, most particularly cancer.
What does the current medical and scientific community say about Mtor? Are there new drugs targeting this enzyme that people can take to control it?
Well, as we mentioned, the targeted rapamycin itself, the pathway, the enzyme, was discovered secondary to a drug that was discovered many years prior to the discovery of Mtor. So I think in the 1970s, a group of scientists went to the Easter Islands, Rapa Nui, I think it was the name of the island, to look for new species and new potential drugs. They do that. And they came away with soil samples that sat on a shelf for many years, and then they finally found a particular chemical that had medicinal effect. In particular, it was an antifungal. So that was the first thing that they found. Later, they found that it had a lot to do with the immune system and organ rejection. So it was approved as a drug to help reduce organ rejection. And they found that when they were doing animal studies, that these animals lived a lot longer. Well, that really then started, picking up the pace of research. So the drug itself that was discovered was rapamycin, which is now known as sirolimus, which is readily available. And it's starting to be used as a really kind of the first true anti-aging drug that is being given kind of off-label, to reduce the rate of aging in humans, as it's assumed could be done because it's being done in many species of animals.
Sounds good. Now,
and I should mention also, you mentioned newer drugs. There are other so-called rapalogs other drugs. We talked about the targeted rapamycin 1, the Tor complex 1 and Tor complex 2, and we want to reduce Tor complex 1 more than 2, and so they're coming up with drugs that maybe can do that, although you can actually do it much more with diet by reducing your protein, because protein affects complex 1 more than 2.
Now moving to the next question, what signs people should look for to understand if Emptor works for their benefit? What is a good approach for anyone to see for themselves the effects of managing Emptor in present day, rather than having to wait until they age?
Yeah. So I should mention that you really want to start paying attention to Emptor more when you're middle-aged. You don't really want to reduce it when you're a child. You want to grow. Then you need more cellular replication and reproduction so that you can grow big and strong. But once you've essentially outgrown growth, you don't need it anymore. In fact, you don't want it anymore. Then that's when you really want to start paying attention to Emptor and start reducing your protein intake. And unfortunately, we have to take it more on faith, because when you're reducing the rate of aging, you're talking about a slow process. You're not talking about something that's going to happen overnight, in a week or month, or even potentially a year. But what you'll notice, if you could compare yourself to yourself, is that you'll be stronger. You'll have far fewer symptoms of all of the age-related diseases. So you'll have less heart disease. You'll think better. You're not going to accumulate as much of that, the protein junk in your nerves and your brain. So your progression of senility and forgetfulness will decrease. But you're not going to really notice that unless you could compare yourself to yourself if you hadn't paid attention to the targeted rapamycin, if you hadn't reduced your protein intake. So it is sort of a matter of faith in trusting science, which I do, because the science is really, really, really robust. And when we can look at the progression of the rate of aging and the symptoms of aging, the so-called chronic diseases of aging, in almost all laboratory animals that this has been tested on, we see that there's a huge benefit. So in mice, their fur is much more robust. They're much more active. A 3-year-old mouse will look like a 2-year-old mouse, or even younger. And we know that these metabolic processes essentially do the same thing in virtually all life, and certainly all mammals. There's zero reason why it wouldn't help humans. It might affect us to a different degree, since humans already live a fairly long life. We may not be able to triple the lifespan of a human just by reducing our protein intake. But as I mentioned before, I think it's absolute that we will increase our maximal lifespan and reduce our symptoms of aging, reduce our rate of acquiring cardiovascular disease and diabetes and obesity and neurodegenerative diseases and osteoporosis and virtually all of them, cancer in particular. I think that we just have to trust the science.
Absolutely. And not just even the science, but also there's, as we talked before, there's this correlation of people in the blue zones in these 5 different cities around the world that live to, centenarians live to 100 years old, and most of them, they have a very limited animal protein consumption. They still do, but very rarely, which again, brings their Mtor down over a long period of time. So it's just so fascinating, this discovery about the Mtor, how a single metabolic pathway, obviously connected to so many other hormones and pathways has such an important part in not just increasing our lifespan, but just staying healthy, right? As you said, being healthy until your 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and beyond. Now, next question, does mTOR affect our reproductive system? And if yes, how exactly? We talked about this before, but if you can give us some more details.
Well, the short answer is Emptor affects everything. And so certainly it would affect reproductive behavior. And we did talk about it a little while ago as far as allocating resources towards replication or maintenance and repair. Anytime a cell divides, it goes through Emptor. Emptor basically has to give permission for a cell to replicate itself. And so when we're talking about reproduction, or when a sperm hits the egg, for it to develop into a human or any animal or any plant, Mtor is certainly going to be involved because it has to regulate the cellular divisions that allow that development to take place. Not only that, we know that Mtor is very involved in so-called differentiation. In other words, when a sperm hits the egg, you start off with just a glob of cells, but some of those cells end up being a heart, and some cells end up being a kidney, and some cells end up being your eyes and your arms. And that's called differentiation, where different cells become different things. And we know Mtor is also involved in differentiation. It's involved in the viability of stem cells. It's one of the mechanisms whereby it helps to regulate aging. And so it helps preserve stem cells, probably by reducing unwanted cellular divisions. And so you have more viable stem cells, which are necessary to replace old, worn out cells.
Amazing. Now, next question is kind of important one, like all others actually. Can people cure completely and heal accumulated cell damage over the years? And I'm talking about here the chronic smoker, the diabetic, the alcoholic, the obese person, etc. Should people be giving up on their hopes for disease-free life, or is there a hope for patients, or even for complete reversal? For partial or complete reversal of the damage done throughout the years? How can one intervene to stop or slow down the cell deterioration?
So I think that the question really boils down to, is it ever too late to heal yourself? And the answer to that is, it's never too late to start healing yourself. In fact, I think it was mice, they started giving rapamycin when mice were the equivalent of 60 years old in human terms. And they were able to greatly reduce their rate of aging, and they lived much longer, even starting it that late in life. So we know that, at least in mice, and there's no reason it wouldn't occur in humans too, that if you even start regulating Mtor when you're 60 years old, you'll make a huge dent in your lifespan and, more importantly, I think, life expectancy. So you can start stretching out your youthfulness. In fact, you can reverse some of it. So certainly if you have heart disease and you have neurodegenerative diseases, by increasing repair and the rate of repair, you will reverse part of that damage. Can you reverse all of it? Probably not. If you could do that, then you would live forever if you didn't get run over by a truck. So I can't promise that people are going to live forever, but you can certainly improve your health and improve the odds of living a long, healthy life by starting to pay attention to one's diet and regulating the target of rapamycin and insulin and leptin and so on at any point in life. It's never too late.
I love it. So again, guys, even if you're in your 50s, 60s, or 70s, as Dr. Ron mentioned, it's never too late to decrease the damage that occurred throughout your life, because of bad lifestyle choices, let's say. So again, don't give up. There's always hope for everybody. What about cancer patients? What is your view on alternative approaches to overcoming cancer? And are there certain lifestyle and diet changes that you specifically recommend for cancer prevention and management?
Yes, certainly, obviously cancer is a disease of cell replication gone wild, right? And so the one thing you want to do is slow it down. And you slow it down by reducing the targeted rapamycin. One of the mainstays now in cancer therapy are rapalogs, rapamycin and other everolimus, sirolimus, other drugs that reduce the targeted rapamycin. They would work better if they also incorporated a proper diet, which they typically do not. So they don't tell their patients, you have to also reduce your protein intake. And so, success has been good in certain cancers, not so good in others, depending on the rapidity of cellular replication. Also depends on when you catch it and how fixed the genetics of that cancer become. Cancer actually can, once it develops and has evolved, it evolves to make its own Emptor. And then it's a bit more difficult. But you still can slow it down by reducing the glucose, by reducing insulin, by reducing leptin, and also keeping the extrinsic Mtor low. Even though the intrinsic Mtor of the tumor might be increased by the tumor itself, you don't have to aid it. You want to slow it down. The more we can slow it down, and the more we can improve the function of our immune system, the better chance we have of defeating that cancer.
Amazing. So in other words, if we learn how to, again, control the mTOR, keep it in down, there is a much more chance for people to first prevent even cancer from happening in the first place, as we mentioned before, and hopefully also, if they already have one, to help them in their healing process of reversing it. Lovely.
Definitely.
Moving on to...
Diet is huge in both preventing and treating cancer.
Absolutely. Now, we have a few more questions and pretty much until the end of this Q&A. I want to ask you the question, what is your message to the younger generation, the people who are in their 20s and 30s now, who may not really worry that much about their health or mTOR level? What would you say to them?
I would say to them that guaranteed, and hopefully, I can't say guaranteed, but certainly hopefully they're going to reach middle age and they're going to reach adulthood. And as such, they need to start paying attention to how rapidly they get there and the damage done on the way. So for instance, there are lots of obese children now. And one of the most prevalent diseases is so-called maturity onset diabetes of the young. I always give diabetes these fancy names. It's essentially just accelerated type 2 or so-called accelerated adult onset diabetes. It's now happening in children. So they can't call it adult onset because it's no longer adult onset. It's adult onset diabetes in children because their rate of aging has accelerated so much because of the junk they're eating. All of the diseases start building up when you're born. They've found plaques sometimes in fetuses. So by the time they actually manifest themselves, for instance, diabetes, for instance, by the time your blood sugar actually goes up, you've had decades of metabolic havoc. You've been insulin resistant for decades. Your insulin has gone up. You've been getting fat as a mechanism to reduce your blood sugar. Let's say you measure your blood sugar, oh, it's fine. Well, that's because your body has been very capable at taking the sugar in your blood, the glucose in your blood, and making fat out of it. As long as you can continue to make fat out of the glucose, your blood glucose is fine. Does it mean you're healthy? Not one bit. A lot of that fat is going in your liver, it's going around your heart, it's definitely impairing lots of different functions, and it's accelerating your rate of aging. But they say, oh, it's okay, you're not diabetic. Well, yes, you are. It's just not being diagnosed properly. Diabetes should not be diagnosed by blood sugar. It should be diagnosed by many other things, such as your level of insulin, leptin, and things like that. Look at the metabolic pathways that underlie the cause of diabetes, not just the symptom and sign of elevated blood glucose. So the message basically is that you are aging and damage is accumulating. It's accumulating from day one. And you want to reduce that rate of damage as you want to improve your rate of repair. And the way you do that is by paying attention to your diet right from day one. And I know that children that have been following this diet are way advanced. They're way advanced in intelligence metrics and development metrics. I mean, they're super intelligent, which I find really interesting. So you can start having a better life. You'll do better athletically if you have more endurance. If you start paying attention to your diets really from day one.
I love it. One of my favorite line from you, from the CEO of Aging Masterclass is, the sooner you start taking care of your health through your lifestyle choices, through the environmental factors around you, the more chance there is that you'll be living longer and also living healthier. So this is, I love this message that it's don't wait until you're 50s, 60s, or 70s until you realize that the damage is too big. You can start reversing, you can start being healthy from an early age in order to increase the youthfulness, as Dr. Ron mentioned. Now, many of you guys have been asking us, okay, now we know kind of the knowledge, what we have to do, but still, like, is there any roadmap, any action plan that we can follow at our own pace? Any specific actions, like, for instance, how much protein do you really need based on your personal criteria and measurements? What can I do to manage my mTOR level? What kind of protein I should eat? What kind of carbohydrates, fats? All those different questions. So we decided to, again, partner with Dr. Ron Rosedale. We sat down for like months and we brainstormed and we did a lot of additional research, and we have created an amazing course called the Aging Gracefully Course, which is a 6-module course that I would like to share with you right now. That is the blueprint and the roadmap that everybody has been asking to follow at your own pace, on your own time, anywhere, on any device, to how to properly, to learn new habits, not only what to eat, but also how to manage stress, how to improve your sleep habits, how to be exposed to less toxins, whether at home or outside. So we put this course, and I would love to share my screen with you right now so I can go over the different modules inside the Aging Gracefully course. So this is the welcome page. Once you go to the course, we have, again, 6 different modules and 42 total lessons. So each module has about 7 lessons, and we have 56 additional video and written resources. There's a little welcome video from me. And then here, if you go to course modules, you can see all the different modules right here. You can track your progress. Obviously, once you watch all the lessons in that module, it goes to 100%. And then from here, now we're gonna go to individual module page. So I wanna share with you the first module, number 1, for you to understand what the structure is and how really easy it is to navigate through this course. Now, module number 1 is all about getting started. It's all about understanding your aging trajectory. Now here in lesson 1 is just the welcome and recap lesson of the masterclass. We kind of go over the main points for the masterclass to refresh your mind. And then lesson 2 is actually one of my favorite lessons from the whole course. It's called the Aging Self-Assessment. What is the Aging Self-Assessment? This is a PDF document that we put together in our team, where you answer different questions about your current health. Then you get different points, whether the answer is from yes to some to very little to no. You are getting a point for that questions, and at the end you're accumulating all your points, and based on your final result, it will determine in what of the 3 categories you're currently in, whether you're aging gracefully currently, or whether there is an age-related risk found, or whether there is an aging alarm, which will kind of give you a better idea of where you stand at your longevity journey and what actions you need to take. Then we move on to Lesson number 3 is the longevity in modern times. Do we live longer than our ancestor? Dr. Ron here reveals some really, really great data about this. Then lesson 4 is about age is just a number. Now, again, we talk about the difference between biological versus chronological age. Again, you might be 60 years old chronological age, but you might be looking like 30 years old, which is your biological age. Lesson number 5 is understanding the underlying causes of premature and unhealthy aging. Here we go into much more details about really what those causes are. What we just talked with Dr. Ron today in the Q&A and the masterclass in general, this is just the tip of the iceberg. This course goes into much more depth into every single aspect that we're talking about in the Aging Gracefully. Number 6 lesson is about turning back the clock, what we can do to really start reversing that damage and turning back the clock. And each of those modules ends with a number 7 lesson, which is a video with a recipe designed by our therapeutic chef, Meredith Klein, that can specifically help you manage your Emptor levels and help you to age gracefully and achieve that disease-free longevity. So let's say in this module, we're having a roasted cauliflower with chickpeas, pine nuts, and herb tahini sauce. And again, all these are delicious recipes. Living healthy and achieving aging gracefully doesn't have to be, eating like food that is not delicious, that is really bland or doesn't taste good. This is a very delicious dish. So again, I highly recommend you check it out. Now, each module also comes with additional resources. First, here you guys can, you have my notes for this module section where you can go and type any notes that you have and you want to save them for future reference, so you can always go back. Now, each module comes with 4 additional recipes that again are going to help you in your longevity journey. For instance, we have keto-friendly egg muffins for weight loss, green avocado and cucumber detox soup, kale and seed salad to boost the immune system, and so and so. Also, each module comes with 3 additional videos. First one is a guided meditation or guided hypnotherapy session, audio session, that will help you manage stress levels. Because again, stress is a huge factor, not just for any type of disease, but also for accelerated aging. So this meditation, guided meditation audio sessions will help you to kind of manage your stress levels. Also, each module comes with either one yoga session or one workout session that will help you to stay fit, stay toned, because it's very important to keep your body moving every day. And also we have therapeutic yoga session that will help you either prevent any particular injuries or also heal from any body injury that you might have. These are done by our therapeutic yoga expert, Wendy Obsler. And finally, we also have an additional audio story session that will help you to fall into a deep sleep, phase 4, because again, it's very important to get your sleep every day, because sleep is such a huge factor to age gracefully and to achieve a disease-free longevity. Each module also comes with additional resources, PDFs. For instance, in this module, we have the self-assessment questionnaire. We also have medical tests to assess your current health. Here, Dr. Ron tells you exactly what are the most important tests that you need to assess certain factors about your health. Finally, each module has your checklist, my checklist actually, which has the 2 sections, knowledge retention. Here you can just test the knowledge that you've learned in that particular module, and then you can just mark them that you've learned that, and also the actions and habits that you can take from that module in order to start creating those habits, and start getting rid of bad habits. Now, at the end of each module, we have the comment section where you can interact with other members in this community, ask questions, and our team will answer your question within 24 hours. So again, this is a very important part of the whole community. Now, module 2 is a very important module. It's all about the age-related diseases and their hormonal triggers. Here, you're going to find out now in very specifics, not just about the chronic disease in general, but like what is the connection between the Mtor and obesity and diabetes? What is the connection between Mtor and cardiovascular disease? Mtor and cancer, Mtor and brain health and cognitive decline, Mtor and autoimmune disease. So in each of those lessons, Dr. Ron is going and diving deeper into the specifics of what the connection is between this metabolic pathway and that certain health condition and disease, in order for you to understand how really the body works and what you can do to help you prevent or even heal naturally from some of those health issues. Now, again, we have the resources for module 2, like in every other module. For instance, salmon tartare with avocado, stuffed portobello mushroom. We have the, again, guided meditation, the workouts, the audio stories, and additional resources like 9 most important triggers of hormonal dysfunction. Module number 3 is all about the systems of the body, your organism as one healthy whole. Now, again, your body is one well-oiled machine that needs to work in balance and harmony in order for you to be healthy. So, it's like the engine in the car. You need the different parts of the engine to work together well in order for the engine to be able to work properly and the car to be moving, right? So that's how your body is. So it's not just about one certain system, but it's about all the body system and how they work together, how they're intertwined. We're going to start from the lesson number 1, cellular health. It starts within your cells. And lesson number 2 is all about digestive health, what you need to know, how you can improve your digestive health. Lesson number 3 is how you can improve your immune health. Lesson number 4 is all about muscle and bone health and how you can improve your muscle and bone health. Lesson number 5 is about skin health, how to love the skin you're in. Usually get a little hint that most of the skin problems actually come from the inside out. That's why it's so important. Again, diet comes, it turns out to be very important for your skin health. And of course, number 6 is putting it all together, how all the systems work together. And then number 7 is, again, a therapeutic, amazing, delicious dish by our chef Meredith Klein that she's going to show you how to cook a sprouted quinoa risotto with mushrooms. Again, we have additional resources here as in every other module. Now, module 4 is probably, I would say, the most important module, and this is the action module in this course. This is now the ultimate diet for aging gracefully from the inside out that Dr. Ron and our Zoning team we put together for you that can help you control and manage Emptor. Now we're talking about the specifics here. We're going to start from first, number 1 lesson, foods that accelerate aging, specific foods that really are increasing the damage in your body and accelerating very fast the aging. What are those foods? What you need to start avoiding from day 1, from tomorrow. Lesson 2 is all about fats, proteins, and carbohydrates. What are the fats and proteins and carbohydrates that are the good ones that you can consume? What is the kind of the proportion? What are the fats, proteins, and carbohydrates that you need to avoid, right? And also, for the most important part in this whole module is how much protein do you really need? So here we're going to reveal Dr. Ron's formula to calculate based on your weight, based on different factors of really how much protein every day you need to consume in order to be able to manage your mTOR levels and to make sure you keep them down so that you do not accelerate the aging process. Lesson number 3 is all about the importance of plant-based diet. Lesson number 4 is about intermittent fasting. What is it? Is it good? Is it bad? Can it help you? Lesson number 5 is about the most common micronutrients people are deficient of. This is a subject that has been, in many cases, neglected by many people, but it's such an important subject because micronutrient deficiency can be triggered for so many diseases, from neurodegenerative disease to gut issues to autoimmune issues. So again, this is very important. We were going to talk about the most important micronutrients deficiency in people and how we can fix those. Lesson number 6 is supplements for supporting vibrant health. Now here, Dr. Ron will reveal some of the top supplements that you can take to support your healthy longevity. As Dr. Ron mentioned, obviously diet is the most important one. That's why we call them supplements. These are supplementation on top of your diet, which is the most important to help you even speed up the process. And number 7, of course, is amazing, delicious dish, poached wild salmon with bok choy by our chef Meredith Klein. Again, here we have additional resources like 10 best plant-based protein sources to lower mTOR, 8-step transition checklist to the ultimate diet for aging gracefully, the 10 most common vitamin and nutrient deficiencies, and also, this is one of my favorite, by the way, glycemic index and glycemic load for 100 plus foods. Again, we talk about what is glycemic index, what is glycemic load, which one is most important one to keep in mind, and the foods that have the highest and the lowest glycemic index and glycemic loads. Now, moving on to the next module, number 5. Here, we're talking about the 6 lifestyle pillars of a healthy aging. Yes, diet is the most important ones, but there's other very important pillars of healthy aging, like managing stress, improving your sleep, environmental factors, relationships. So here we have invited our guest speaker and our Zonia expert, Dr. Erica Austin, who is a transformational life coach specializing in helping people through major life transitions. She has a bachelor in psychology and a master degree in sociology. Now, here in lesson number 1, we're going to start with sleep. We're going to talk why sleep is so important, than really what you probably think, and different tips to improve your sleep. Lesson number 2 is all about decompress and distress. Lesson number 3 is about how exercise can trigger cell renewal. Lesson number 4 is about detoxing your home. Again, she's going to give you many amazing tips on how to detox your home from all kinds of potential toxicity like mold and other things that can deteriorate your health and increase the cellular damage. Lesson number 5 is again something that many people are ignoring, which is the roadmap to authentic relationships and long-lasting joy. Here we're going to talk how we can improve your relationship with your loved ones around you, how we can improve your relationship with your friends, with even your business relationships, because relationships and healthy relationships are also a very important factor for a healthy longevity. And lesson number 6 is how to practice earthing, is how to be more outside in sunshine and nature, why this is also so important for your healthy longevity. And lesson number 7, again, we're having an amazing recipe, which is yellow curry halibut with spinach by our chef, Meredith Klein. Here we have some additional resources like stress stimuli and the response analyzer, which will tell you again different possible stress stimuli in your life that you might not have expected, exercise checklist and sample weekly routine, 10 worst environmental toxins, the regenerative sleep checklist. Again, you help you how to improve your sleep habits. And now I'm going to move to the next module, which is the final module, and again, a very important one. Here is the implementation, how to turn knowledge into action. Now, up to this point, obviously, we have many action-based, content, and we have a lot of knowledge, but still, you might be wondering, okay, I know now exactly what I have to do. I have the recipes, but still, I'm so busy. I don't know how to create those new habits. I don't know how to get rid of those bad habits. I'm overwhelmed. I have anxiety. What should I do? So this module is about, we are guiding you hand by hand on how to build new habits and get rid of your bad habits. So the first lesson is about the psychology of habits. You need to understand how habits work better so that you can start getting rid of those bad habits and start incorporating those good, healthy habits so that you can start your aging journey. Because knowledge is one thing, but if you don't put the knowledge into action, then really it doesn't make any sense and any difference. Lesson number 2 is find your why, change your why and change your how. This is very important because once you find your inner why am I doing this in the first place? You're going to be much more motivated and you're going to be doing this with pleasure, with happiness. You won't be like forced, oh, I have to start doing this and I have to start applying all these actions just because, I have to. You're going to actually enjoy this whole journey once you find your inner why. And Dr. Erica Austin will help you, show you how to find your inner why. Lesson number 3 is habits. Out with the old, in with the new. She will show you how to get rid of bad old habits and how to quickly integrate and build new healthy habits. Lesson number 4 is the smarter goals, your path to achieving your desired outcomes. Again, one of my favorite lessons, really, really motivational one. Lesson number 5 is eliminating self-sabotage and becoming your best self. Again, self-sabotage and procrastination in general, is something that I personally have been fighting, throughout my life. So this lesson is all about how we can eliminate that self-sabotage, how we can start loving ourselves more, how we can stop procrastinating and really start doing our work and start incorporating all those different actions that we're sharing throughout this course. And lesson number 6 is some very inspirational, motivational closing remarks from Dr. Ron. Lesson number 7, as always, is a recipe from Meredith Klein. This one is black soybeans plus tempeh chili for aging gracefully. We have additional resources here as always, and we have habit tracker, and you also have 20 affirmation practice guide. Now the Aging Gracefully course, again, it's a six module course with 42 lessons, but it also comes with a couple of additional bonuses. First, we have the longevity interviews. Now here, I have personally interviewed these two amazing human beings from Bulgaria, my home country. We have Ivan, who is a 97, actually right now he's 98 years old guy, whose brain is sharper than my brain. And this guy, I literally went to the Black Sea with him, and he swims 5 kilometers every day during the summer. And he skis in the winter. I literally personally skied with him in the winter. So he shares some amazing motivational things with you. And also he shares his lifestyle. He shares what he eats, what he's done throughout his lifestyle to still increase his lifespan to such an age and to be so healthy even up to this age. I asked him, like, Ivan, when was the last time you were sick? He looked, he thought about it. He said, I don't remember. Like literally, that's how much he has been healthy. And then you have Shinka, who is 94 years old. She also shares her lifestyle habits and what she does to stay so old and still to be so healthy. Finally, we have the bonuses, which are different bonuses we have from our health partners that have agreed to give some of their amazing products that are worth over $500 total free for everybody who signs up for the Aging Gracefully course. We have your Best Year Start Now Summit, which my good friend Brian has interviewed over 21 world-renowned experts and researchers on, again, aging gracefully. So we can watch these different interviews with those people for absolutely free as a bonus part if you get the Aging Gracefully course. We have bonus number 2, which is the SIBO Essential Series, 8 Lessons to SIBO Resolution by my good friend Shivan. Again, this is amazing content, especially if you have any problem, any type of gut issues. Bonus number 3 is 13-step formula to balancing your brain chemistry. And bonus number 4 is Wholesome Living 20-day course challenge, again, by my good friend Nate Crane. So all this is coming as part of the Aging Gracefully course. Now, as I mentioned earlier in the beginning of this Q&A, I have a special bonus for you today that I would like to tell you now about, which is today, and because you watch the CEO of Aging Masterclass, we would love to give you a 50% discount on the Aging Gracefully course. So today you can get the whole 6-module course with all the bonuses worth over $500, all the 56 additional resources and everything for only $247 instead of the regular price, which is the $497. And again, if you'd like to distribute your payment, you can sign up for the 3-monthly plan and pay $89 per month for 3 months only to get access to the Aging Gracefully course. And let me tell you that you guys are covered by a 2-month money-back guarantee, which means you can go through the whole course, watch all the lessons, watch all the additional resources, watch all the bonuses. And if you still are not happy with the results or the content for any reason, really just contact us and we're going to give you your money back. That's how much we are confident in the power and in the knowledge and action plan we are sharing here with you in the Aging Gracefully course. If you get the course, again, you have a lifetime access to the course, so you can come back at any time to refresh your mind, refresh your knowledge. You can always come back to watch all the cooking videos, to watch all the guided meditation, all the sleep stories, all the workout and yoga videos at any time you want, because you have lifetime access to the course. And you can watch the course at your own pace. Again, some folks prefer to watch it at once. Other folks prefer to watch it, in one module per month or 1 module per week. So you have the freedom to watch it at your own pace. We have put our hearts, we have put so much time and months of work to create this Aging Gracefully course with Dr. Ron Rosedale and our other Zonia experts. So we are grateful for you guys to have joined and stayed with us for so long. We have already hundreds of people thousands of people who actually purchased the course, and they have reported great health improvements. So we highly encourage you to give it a shot. There is absolutely nothing to lose. It's 100% risk-free because you're covered by 2 months money-back guarantee. So really, there is nothing to lose. Dr. Ron, do you have any final words for people why they should sign up for the Aging Gracefully course and what they can benefit from the course?
Nothing is more important than your health. You know that I've spent a lot of time in India, and I first came to India because of a very, wonderful spiritual leader in India asked me to come to India to help the health of India because it's quite an unhealthy nation. Diabetes is very, very common, heart disease, cancer. What he said is that I understand that the spiritual growth of India cannot go beyond their health. Right now, the health of India is inhibiting the spiritual growth. And so what can you do? And so I've spent 15 years coming to India to help influence that health. And I mention this because health is paramount. You cannot be happy. You cannot do anything in life unless you're healthy. And so this is a course that I'm 100% convinced will make everybody healthier, some more than others, depending on where you are to begin with and how well you follow it. But everybody who reads this, whether you want to or not, will become healthier because just subconsciously you'll understand and start recognizing the relevance of the food that you eat. I mean, everybody understands that diet is important. I don't think very many people understand just how important it is in regulating the factors that regulate the rate of aging and therefore the symptoms of aging, the so-called chronic diseases of aging, and that includes your brain.
Thank you so much, Ron, for being here today. It was just, for me personally, it was such a life-changing experience working with you and partnering with you on this Aging Gracefully journey. And I'm sure you guys are going to tremendously benefit from all the information that we are sharing with you inside the Aging Gracefully course. Again, Dr. Ron is an open encyclopedia, a pioneer in this whole Aging Gracefully journey, probably the top longevity expert in the whole world. And you have the chance right now to learn from him. It's about every single thing you need to know about aging gracefully. So again, I highly encourage you to click on the button below and sign up for the course because you will not be sorry about it. Again, you're covered by a 60-day money-back guarantee. So this is absolutely a risk-free investment. Click below to get your free course right now. And again, Ron, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for your time today. And we're going to talk to you again soon.
Thank you very much.